On September 23, 2017, the sun, moon, and stars will align to fulfill a 2,000-year-old prophecy. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she being with child cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God, and to his throne.
Taken place since Passover of last year. That's when the first in a series of 4 blood moons appeared in the sky.
If you can catch only one episode of the Supermoon trilogy, catch the third one. It will be extra special. First of all, the January 31st supermoon will feature a total lunar eclipse, with totality viewable from western North America across the Pacific to eastern Asia.
I'm about to go outside and set up my camera and telescope to photograph the Great Conjunction of 2020. Now, what is the Great Conjunction? It's an alignment from our perspective of 2 of the biggest planets in the solar system, Jupiter and Saturn.
Genesis 1:14 said God is using the sun, moon, and stars to send signals to mankind. God used the stars to cause the Magi to find Jesus Christ. Joshua, when they were in the battle of the 5 kings, commanded the sun and the moon to stand still for almost a day.
The similar phrase here. The merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. There's a commercial issue here. And then, just to keep scholars from allegorizing this, we have 28 cargoes listed here. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all fine wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass and iron and marble, and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and no sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and the souls of men. Now, you can take all these symbolically, and you start right now, okay, let's figure out what cinnamon means and so on. But I think these 28, which is 4 times 7, by the way, I think these are listed here by the Holy Spirit specifically to be a barrier to allegorizing them. These are tangible goods that the merchants are upset about not being able to sell because they somehow became very dependent upon this religious system. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all the things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. So far we got 2 groups, the kings and the merchants. And the merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off. There, same phrase again, for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing and saying, Alas, alas, the great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour, so great riches is come to naught. Whew. Now we get to the 3rd group. And every shipmaster, and all the company in the ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? So I think it's a city. I think it's a great city. I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils.
This Sunday in holy water, my Jesus peace clean. Even my shoes are Christians, I'm walking on holy water.
I want you to speak with my little tone chick, got that fire, and these hoes love me like Satan, man. Yeah.
And the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And we're going to see those detailed here shortly. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues." I'm very encouraged by the fact that of the 144,000, there were none lost. On the Ark of Noah, they ended with what they started with. God's protection is perfect. It's not partial, not approximate.
What we saw was a very significant event of a test of a hypersonic weapon system, and it is very concerning.
Speaking to Bloomberg, General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, sounding the alarm.
I don't know if it's quite a Sputnik moment, but I think it's very close to that. And it has all of our attention.
It's the most significant public acknowledgement by a senior U.S. official that China conducted 2 tests of a hypersonic missile system this summer. Tests which were first reported by the Financial Times. The fear now? That one day they may be capable of carrying a nuclear payload. Supersonic jets and missiles have been in use for decades, able to break the speed of sound. Hypersonic is a whole different league, at least 5 times faster, traveling around 4,000 miles per hour at a minimum, making a hypersonic missile quick and agile enough to evade existing U.S. defense systems. China has only acknowledged one test, saying it was linked to the nation's space program. But President Xi Jinping, according to China's official news agency, called for the Chinese military to break new ground and said China's capabilities have been enhanced by leapfrog development.
And every shipmaster and all the company and the ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, "What city is like unto this great city?" So I think it's a city. I think it's a great city.